Ancient Rome is one of the most iconic civilizations in human history, a city that began as a small settlement along the Tiber River and grew into a sprawling empire that stretched from the windswept deserts of North Africa to the misty hills of Britain. The story of Rome is a tale of ambition, ingenuity, warfare, and intrigue, of men and women whose actions shaped the destiny of millions. To understand Rome's rise and fall is to understand the very foundations of Western civilization. Rome's beginnings are shrouded in myth. According to legend, the city was founded in 753 BCE by Romulus and Remus, twin brothers raised by a she-wolf after being abandoned as infants. Romulus would go on to kill Remus in a dispute over where to establish the city, claiming the Palatine Hill as the site of the new settlement. While this story is mythological, archaeological evidence confirms that settlements along the Tiber existed around the 8th century BCE. Early Rome was a cluster of villages, inhabited by the Latin and Sabine peoples, and organized into tribal communities that would eventually merge into a single city-state. The early Romans lived under a monarchy, ruled by kings who oversaw religious, military, and civic affairs. The last Roman king, Tarquin the Proud, was notorious for his tyranny. Around 509 BCE, a popular uprising led to the establishment of the Roman Republic, a system of government that would endure for nearly 5 centuries. The Republic was characterized by a complex system of checks and balances. Power was shared between elected magistrates, the Senate, and popular assemblies, and Rome's citizens had an unprecedented voice in government. Yet, this political experiment was not without its struggles. Rome's early expansion began on the Italian peninsula, where the Republic faced neighboring tribes and city-states. The Romans developed a disciplined and highly organized military. The legion, composed of heavily armed infantry, became the backbone of Rome's power. With each conquest, Rome expanded its influence, integrating conquered peoples into its growing sphere of control. By the 4th century BCE, Rome had begun to dominate the Italian peninsula, subduing the Etruscans to the north and the Samnites to the south. This period forged the Romans' reputation as ruthless, strategic, and unyielding warriors. By the 3rd century BCE, Rome faced its first major challenge beyond Italy: Carthage, a wealthy and powerful city-state on the coast of North Africa. The Punic Wars, a series of 3 conflicts, would define the Republic's military prowess and set the stage for its emergence as a Mediterranean superpower. The First Punic War, 264–241 BCE, was fought primarily over control of Sicily. Rome, initially inexperienced in naval warfare, built a fleet from scratch, introducing the corvus, a boarding device that allowed Roman soldiers to fight on ships as if on land. After more than 2 decades of grueling conflict, Rome emerged victorious, claiming Sicily as its first overseas province. The Second Punic War, 218–201 BCE, is remembered for the audacious campaigns of Hannibal, the Carthaginian general who famously crossed the Alps with elephants. Hannibal inflicted several crushing defeats on Roman armies, culminating in the Battle of Cannae, where tens of thousands of Roman soldiers fell. Yet, Rome's resilience was unmatched. The Republic refused to surrender, and generals like Scipio Africanus turned the tide by taking the fight to Carthage itself, ultimately defeating Hannibal at the Battle of Zama in 202 BCE. The Third Punic War, 149–146 BCE, saw Rome destroy Carthage completely, razing the city and enslaving its people, cementing its dominance in the Western Mediterranean. The expansion of Rome brought wealth, slaves, and immense power to the Republic, but it also sowed the seeds of internal conflict. Economic inequality, social unrest, and political corruption grew as the Senate and elite patricians consolidated power. Reformers, like the Gracchi brothers, attempted to address these issues by redistributing land to the poor, but their deaths highlighted the Republic's inability to reconcile the needs of the populace with the ambitions of the elite. This period of instability paved the way for the rise of military strongmen. Julius Caesar, one of history's most famous figures, rose to prominence during this turbulent era. As a brilliant general, he conquered Gaul, extending Rome's territories to the Atlantic and gaining the loyalty of his legions. Yet, Caesar's growing power alarmed the Senate. In 49 BCE, he crossed the Rubicon River with his army, declaring civil war on Rome. The phrase, "crossing the Rubicon," has since become synonymous with making an irreversible decision. Caesar emerged victorious, and in 44 BCE, he was appointed dictator for life. However, his assassination on the Ides of March by a group of senators marked another turning point in Roman history. The Republic's final years were defined by civil wars and the struggle for absolute power. Mark Antony and Cleopatra of Egypt opposed Octavian, Caesar's adopted heir. The decisive Battle of Actium in 31 BCE saw Octavian triumph, effectively ending the Republic and ushering in the Roman Empire. In 27 BCE, Octavian took the title Augustus, becoming Rome's first emperor. Augustus's reign inaugurated a period of relative peace and stability known as the Pax Romana, a 200-year era during which Rome flourished in arts, architecture, trade, and governance. The Roman Empire under Augustus and his successors grew to its greatest territorial extent. Emperors like Trajan expanded Rome's borders to the Euphrates in the east and deep into the British Isles in the north. The empire's administration was complex, with provinces governed by officials who collected taxes and enforced Roman law. Roads, aqueducts, and monumental buildings connected and symbolized the empire's unity. Cities like Rome, Alexandria, and Carthage became hubs of culture, commerce, and innovation. Yet, despite its strength, the empire was not immune to challenges. Political instability, economic troubles, and military pressures increasingly threatened its cohesion. The crisis of the 3rd century, 235–284 CE, saw the empire nearly collapse under the weight of internal strife, invasions by Germanic tribes, and economic chaos. Emperors rose and fell with alarming speed, and the frontiers were under constant attack. It was during this period that Diocletian enacted sweeping reforms, dividing the empire into eastern and western regions, and establishing the tetrarchy to share power among multiple rulers. The division of the empire did not stop its decline. The Western Roman Empire, weakened by internal corruption and continuous invasions, gradually lost territory. The sack of Rome by the Visigoths in 410 CE shocked the world, marking the symbolic fall of the city. In 476 CE, the last Western Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer, signaling the end of the Western Roman Empire. Meanwhile, the Eastern Roman Empire, known as the Byzantine Empire, continued to thrive, preserving Roman law, culture, and governance for nearly 1,000 more years. The legacy of Rome is unparalleled. Roman law laid the foundations for legal systems around the world. Latin became the root of the Romance languages, and Roman engineering, architecture, and urban planning influenced countless civilizations that followed. The rise and fall of Rome is a story of ambition and innovation, of the heights of human achievement and the fragility of even the greatest empires. Its history continues to inspire, teach, and captivate millions across the globe. Ancient Rome's story is a testament to the enduring power of civilization, the consequences of ambition, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos. From the humble beginnings of a small settlement to the grandeur of an empire spanning continents, Rome's legacy lives on, not only in the ruins of its once great cities, but in the institutions, languages, and cultural achievements that shape our modern world. To study Rome is to study the rise and fall of human civilization itself, a reminder of both what humanity can achieve and what it can lose.